dedicated to people living with HIV, their friends and family, every Monday from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Real Talk 100 Radio. You can also find us on all social media under POZ Impact. That's POZ Impact. And if you happen to miss our show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can catch the latest episodes of POZ Impact.
Welcome, friends. You are listening to POZ Impact. This is Houston's first radio show dedicated to people living with HIV, their friends and family. I am your host, Josh. I use he, him pronouns. I'm just trying to make sure that we are live, guys. I think so.
My mic's on.
Yes, I think so. So I think maybe you just can't hear me. But we'll check real quick. But I want to welcome back to our show. First, I want to give a couple of shout outs. I know that this is the new year. It's our last show for the year. I want to thank our listeners for tuning in to our show. I really appreciate you guys have been with us since the beginning. This has been since June. This has been a really roller coaster experience for me since this is my first time doing anything of this stuff. But I also want to give a quick shout out to everybody who helped with us with Thanksgiving and also during the toy drive for Thomas Street. Two huge events that Thomas Street organizes, and as part of the board, we couldn't have done it with the support of several organizations, several council members who stepped up to Mike Knox, Michael Conteh, and Eric Digg. There are several major, also precinct and Commissioner Rodney Ellis. He also donated prize, as well as Mark. I can't remember his last name. Mark Flores. He is running for Congress, District 18, and so that is Sheila Jackson. And he actually, not only did Mark donate, he also donated his time, which is unbelievable. He was there with us from 9 o'clock in the morning on Thanksgiving, all the way to like 1:30 p.m. And that's pretty amazing. So I just want to give a quick shout out to everyone who came to support us. Lady Hale for supporting me always. I just want to thank for her always coming to the rescue whenever I need it. And I just want to say it's a new year, and so we're super excited to be on Real Talk 100 Radio celebrating this time. And I also want to welcome back Michael Conteh.
Hello, hello.
He is a board certified, he's a board certified behavior analyst, and will be completing both his black belt Six Sigma process management, and also his life coaching certification by early summer 2020. And he's also, I want to say he's finished writing his book, but it's like in the last process of the
We're almost done.
He's almost finished.
Almost done. But
But it's really good, and I'm so excited to have him back on our show to talk about mental health and how important it is to take care of yourself and your mind, your body, and the way of thinking, and the way of, when I have conversations. Michael is a good friend of mine, and when I talk with him, I have a pleasure of him really laying it to me, the hard facts, and just telling me to look into what I'm doing, and if that's working, great. But if it's not, then what are you doing to change it? And I really appreciate Michael for doing all this stuff. So, Michael, welcome to our show. Welcome to POZ Impact again. We have moved since you've been with us last.
yes, I like the new digs. It's nice in here.
Welcome to Real Talk 100 and POZ Impact. We're super excited to have you. Sorry, I'm trying to go Facebook Live, so just...
Sure, you go ahead and do yours. And while you do that, I want to just give a cheers to POZ Impact and cheers to you. I've known you for a while, and to see how it's grown, it's been really encouraging. And so it's a real shout out, just like you said, to all the people that have donated their time, their energy, have paid attention to listen. And I'm really excited to see where this continues to go a year from now. And so, I think seeing the mission in its infancy, seeing your dedication has been very encouraging to me. So I want to, before we even get started on New Year's themes, I'm going to give you that little shout out for that.
Thank you so much. This has been a roller coaster for me, starting from wanting to do a podcast or not knowing what I wanted to do, to starting, in April, I had a vision of wanting to do something, and you know, in June it became a reality, and it's just been really successful, and I've been really, I thank you for our sponsor for the month, Mr. Antonio T. Smith Jr. with the university, with ATS Universities. You can listen to his ad on our show as well too if you are a POZ radio listener and you're willing to be coached, and you're willing to have, you know, if you're out there and you're trying to find yourself and you maybe have low self-esteem, or if you maybe don't know where your career is going at the moment, he can definitely help you there. So definitely check him out, or you can call us at 281-318-8650, and we'll be talking about a little bit about everything. And so I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited to have him back. We all need to kind of a reset button, or like he has this word that I really like, and I can't find it at the moment, but I will.
So decompression.
Decompression, you know, and just, you know, when I was first reading it, you have to take time out of your day. You know, the first you say take the first. Well, before we get into all this stuff, hold on. I want to go back and talk about what is a black belt Six Sigma.
Sure, I'm glad you asked, Josh. So a black belt Six Sigma essentially is taking your statistics class that you used to take in high school or in college, and then using process management with that. So I always use the example of Coca-Cola. Think how many bottles of Coca-Cola they make every single day.
Millions.
I mean, millions, maybe even billions when you talk about the entire world.
Yeah.
And how do they get all that Coca-Cola, let's just take the United States for this example, to all taste the same? So there's formulas involved, but you need really specific math, and you need really specific ways to test to make sure that each bottle tastes like Coca-Cola. So Six Sigma essentially is process management. You take a big goal and you break it down to many pieces. You take very strict data on that, so that's where the statistics come in. You evaluate that data, you improve on the project, and of course you have to have a way to control, make sure that all the stuff you work on goes well. So a lot of times you see Six Sigma people working with engineers. You see them working in lots of different aspects, including healthcare, but it pretty much is process management with a whole lot of data attached to it.
Okay, that's interesting. And so, with that being said, so basically, like, it just helps you be able to manage, or like be able to have a better understanding of how the process of the business is running, like how you're. It
starts,
right?
So it helps us from the business standpoint, but it's a lot more because it's very data heavy. And so it really is taking things, let's say you're trying to improve reduce the amount of turnover you have at your company every year. You can use some of the Black Belt Six Sigma strategies to help with some of that. So it comes with a little bit of both involved, but it really is for heavy duty things. Car manufacturers tend to use it. So it's really high-end stuff. I'm taking some of that along with my behavior analysis skills, and really the life coaching and executive coaching, what I'm getting into. So I'm kind of taking a merging of all three to encapsulate the hardest, most complicated, but most beautiful thing in the world, which is the human brain. And so I think I'm using all of these tools to kind of help out, a complicated human.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into it. And so.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So of course this is New Year's coming up.
Yes.
And no matter what your thoughts of 2019 were, 2019 is over.
Yeah, it is.
And we're heading into a new year. It's one of those cool, neat years. 2020. It sounds good, rolling off the tongue.
2019.
Yeah. So, with that being said, I know it's always a time for, what's your New Year's goals and, your themes. And it's good to have them, don't get me wrong. But I'm going to propose to you that I'm going to suggest to have two mindsets. Instead of having goals, go with mindsets. Because mindsets are something that you can continue to keep doing. They're a lot harder to fail. And I'm going to give two tasks to kind of go with that, to kind of when you start the new year, ultimately, you want to put yourself in the best position to make the best decisions. And I think really, if you want to simplify things, that's the best way to look at it. So we're going to talk about a couple mindsets, and the first one I'm going to talk about is mindfulness. And so there's lots of different ways to categorize mindfulness, but essentially, you are where your attention is. And I like the simplicity of that. And so if you are thinking about the future and thinking about what you're going to do next, those neurons are thinking about what to do next. They're starting to look forward. Now, if you're only thinking about what has happened to you in the past, if you're only thinking about the bad things that have happened, what does that do to your neurons? And so mindfulness is a very, very important, small tool that really can help you to just, essentially just live in the moment. And, you know, I think as humans, we're always trying to fight for that being alive moment, right? We wake up, we're rushing to get to work or school, or we're rushing to do this, when we get home. We're always in this kind of, always what's next, always moving forward, and not really thinking, not really, in a weird way, just being. And so mindfulness is just the practice of living in the moment. We'll talk in a little bit later about some of the steps of mindfulness, because we'll include some meditation and some of that in there. But I just think the beautiful thing of mindfulness is, if you are where your thoughts are, you have some control on your on your day in, day out activities. You know, every day you have choice on how you feel on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I mean, that is so true, because so I really, my sister is really hardcore in this, like, you know, you put out what you believe in, and your mind really controls of what your positive thinking and all that stuff. And so she has really, like, drilled down to me this kind of thinking of try to always be positive, try to always have a outlook on the future versus the past. And the past is behind, and it's over with, it's done. Like, what can you see yourself doing now? Like, what did you learn from that, and how you can apply that to make sure that you're doing something better, next time around. And so now I'm like a huge firm believer in that mindset of having a positive thinking, a positive outlook, making sure that I'm like, okay, it's okay, it's whatever. I will get through this somehow. I'll find a way. This is just a stepping stone.
Yeah, they're really these small steps. And the one thing to be clear, I am very for much doing things, but I'm an analyst. I'm a behavior analyst. I'm a data analyst.
Yeah.
I like make sure there's a solid reason why we're doing these things. And I think the neurology of it is your neurons strengthen on what you practice. It's the simplest way. That's why a ballerina gets good. She doesn't get good by just standing there. She gets good by practicing all the time.
Yeah.
You have improved in your radio show from April.
I hope so.
You absolutely have. But that was through practice. So let's take that back to that mindset. If all you're thinking about are negative thoughts, you strengthen those neurons. You strengthen those thoughts of fear. You strengthen those thoughts of anxiety. So I think what your sister is talking about, when you start to shift your mindset to thinking forward, it's not that you don't forget the past. Your past is your past. But you spend a lot more of your, I'm going to call it neural energy, although it's not inherently real, but you spend a lot of it looking forward, and you start to build stronger connections about what you're going to do instead of what you've just done. So I think that's the nuts and bolts of what makes that work.
Okay, I mean, I like that, because I do like to make sure that I know why I'm doing something behind it. And sometimes I'm doing it just because like, I do see good outcomes behind it all. When I'm like, things will get better, but some days it's just hard. Like, just recently this whole, couple of weeks has just been a hard couple of weeks with everything going on. I'm like, okay, things have to starting getting better. And today I just had like another little setback, but you should start seeing improvement because like okay, this is come and gone. Now let's move forward.
Yeah. The human struggle. There is no perfection in the human, in all of us, right?
Yeah, right.
Right. And I think it's okay. I like to, when I'm like I said, I'm in the beginning of a coaching, so I'm trying to coach people during different things. And I like to tell people, it's okay to be sad. You're supposed to be. You're human. Humans are supposed to get sad sometimes. That's not a bad thing. You're supposed to get scared sometimes. Emotions. We should never be afraid of our emotions. Now, we should be afraid of what we do with our emotions, but emotions are just emotions. And I think when you really think of them just from that standpoint, some days suck. And there's just going to be no other way around it. But with that, there are also going to be some days that are just going to be really good. And I think that mindset really starts to kind of get you, life already would do enough things to bring you down. The last thing you want to do when you wake up in the morning is to put yourself down or bring yourself down. There's no good reason to start behind the 8 ball if you're trying to work that way. So we're going to talk a little bit about meditation, because meditation kind of goes into mindfulness, but essentially, and this is me paraphrasing because I'm not a meditation expert, but what meditation does, it just allows you to slow your brain down. We talk about how busy everything's going, the overload, your phone's always going off.
Yeah.
TV, all this stuff, the world's ending, every other Saturday type of thing. So meditation is a way that you can just slow yourself down and then allow yourself to think. So your brain essentially is 2 brains. You have your lizard brain, meaning the one that fight or flight, that instant reaction, that road rage, all those kind of instant ones. Then you have your more advanced brain. That's the one that has the cognitive thought. That's the one that tends to have more empathy, compassion. So what meditation does is allow you to slow your brain down enough so that when an emotion hits you, instead of reacting, you can take a moment just to think.
Yeah.
Or just a moment just to wait, actually. And that allows you to have a much better reaction to something that's happening in the environment. You can be much calmer, when something happens, when someone cuts you off, less flipping birds. And so I highly recommend, so one of the mindsets with mindfulness is to do a little bit of meditation. I'm not looking for you guys to be a Tibetan monk and to sit for 30 minutes and to clear your head. And there's many ways to do it. I would just recommend start with 3 minutes. And in those 3 minutes, all to focus on is to focus on your breathing. It's to actually just hear yourself take a deep breath in and then release it, just slowly. And that process of slowing down really starts to create just a little bit of a calming effect. And so, you do that for a little bit. There are some YouTube where you can have some of the music, almost like the yoga style or meditation music, or you can do it in silence. It depends on just how it is. But it's amazing. Even just doing 3 minutes, and I think you want to try to get to about 5 to 10 minutes on a slow, take your time. But it's amazing how that will just put you in a more, and it's not even a positive mindset. It just makes things just a little, it makes your brain process a little slower. It makes you feel a little cleaner on making decisions moving forward.
Can I jump back a little bit?
Sure.
I really like this thing that you had. It says can you truly be silent for 5 minutes? And I was thinking about that. And I was like, can I truly be silent for 5 minutes? Because I always have to have something kind of stimulating my brain, whether it's music, whether it's background noise, whether it's the TV, my phone. I gotta be on Instagram. I gotta be on Facebook. I gotta be doing something. If I'm up, I'm doing something. I really am not spending no 5 minutes not thinking, purely not of anything. Slowing down. You're talking about slowing your brain down, and see where it wanders. Where does it go to? Does it go to your present, your past, your future? or you start having negative thoughts, or you start having positive thoughts. And when I'm reading all this stuff, I'm like, okay, this absolutely makes sense. Like, I really haven't done it and stuff because I'm maybe a little bit afraid of what kind of thoughts run through my brain when it's just nothing there. Like, when I'm just, sitting there in silence. And that's a little bit part of the meditation as well too. Is I really am not a firm believer in meditation. I'm trying to see the benefits of it, but it's just hard for me to I'm not an earthy, touch the sun, touch the clouds or the ground, and I'm not that yogic type of person. But I do realize that your brain does need this time to shut off or turn a reset kind of thing. And that's basically what you're kind of doing when you're taking a little bit of your time and not just doing nothing and just kind of just concentrating on yourself maybe and see where. So can we talk a little bit about that? Why is it so important to have this truly, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's a little bit of time, truly to yourself and not doing anything, just sitting there in silence and
Sure.
doing nothing.
Sure, definitely. So I think the biggest thing is I love to use the computer because really the closest simulation we have to our brain is an actual computer. If you really think, we made the brain we made the computer how our brain works. And so when you sit in that mindfulness meditation state, you're closing windows. So what happens all day, you have all these windows up. You have your past and what was happening. You have this thing you've been thinking about. You keep keeping yourself busy. So what happens when you try to go to sleep at night? This is what happens to most of us. That's why we'll talk about sleep too, because this is what happens. You run around all day. You're doing all this stuff. And then you try to close your eyes. And all those windows you haven't closed. Yeah. And all of a sudden at the same time, boom, your brain starts racing.
It does.
And it creates, that type. So what you're doing essentially with that meditation is you're just closing little windows. And when you start to close the windows down, it really, really, you can really focus on what you need to focus on. The brain needs to go out and play. It needs its time to think, and sometimes the thoughts, you're not going to sit there and you may find a cure for cancer or world peace while you're sitting there. But sometimes you might just think about the weirdest things. You might have a Family Guy moment in your head, and that's okay. I think it's giving your brain just that space to operate is really where the benefits, come from. So closing the windows is probably the biggest aspect of it. I think the second thing, and I've been really trying to think of why, but I really feel strongly that most humans feel this way. The person we're most afraid of is our own thoughts.
Yes, I agree.
And if you think about it, that
crazy.
It doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
If anyone, you should be comfortable. But I guarantee you, and you, most people that way, when they get in silence, they get awkward really quick.
Yes.
Because, it's something about that aspect. And this is not when you're in a group of people. This is when you're by yourself.
I know, yeah. Much less when you go with people.
Yeah. And so for me as a behavior analyst, my first thought is, why? Why is it hard to stay quiet for 5 minutes? And so then it forces you to really start to evaluate and really start to think, well, what, am I afraid of something? Because it's not necessarily boredom. Because boredom, is not...
No, it is not boredom. No, it is not at all. I think it's fear. Of being really alone with your own thoughts. I mean, I'm not even sure when was the last time I was in complete silence and just shut down those windows. Because when I go down to bed, like most people, I'm just, I have a busy work schedule. I get done, and I'm gonna watch my television. I'm gonna watch whatever my shows I want to see. And by the time, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go to bed. I shut my eyes and let the TV play in the background so I can fall asleep. And don't let it skip, because I'm gonna wake up real quick and hit the I'm still awake.
Yeah. So
I know that's bad, but how do you unfocus that? Like, how do you I know it's part of meditation, it's part of like, we'll talk a little bit more about like behaviors, but how do you someone start thinking about it? And if you guys have questions, or if our listeners have questions, please give us a call. Our number is 281-318-8650. Again, it's 281-318-8650 if you have questions for Michael. And go ahead, I want to see what...
So I always think, if you want to fix your body, you need to start with your mind. If you want to fix your mind, you need to start with your body. So in a case like this, I want to focus on the breathing first, right? We all breathe, because if not, we wouldn't be here. So I think just focusing on the and just bringing everything back to that. And so when you breathe, you want to breathe not that shallow breath. You want that breath that comes from your belly, like that kind of, and just, and all you're not thinking about anything else. All you're thinking about is your breathing, up and down. I think is a great way to start, because we all have that same pattern. We all can have that focus, and it does lots of beneficial things to us. So I think just starting with focusing on your breathing, up and down, is, I think, the best way. So for me, I'm the same way like you. I've actually at points in my life have been not the most meditation. I've been an anti-meditation person at some point in my life, and I'm happy that I was wrong. With that, because I've seen the benefits. So start with your breathing. First, start with your breathing. With those first couple minutes, you don't have to worry about, you're not trying to control it. It's your brain. It's going to do whatever it wants, right? If there's no thoughts go to your head, that's great. If you think about your dog Fluffy, that's great too. But just let the 3 minutes just kind of wander. But in the midst of it, and I can only speak for my journey, and I'm still newer to this. I really think there are some meditation people, and so as my journey continues, I'm just continue to talk about it in my books. But in the midst of some of the closing down, I'll get a clarity of thought. And sometimes it'll be a thought that I had before, and they'll say, you need to reach out to that friend. And I think those are the thoughts. And so it won't be the purpose of this talk, but I'm a big fan of frequencies, of just meaning your spirit, your brain, and your body. If they're in the right place or close enough, then that's when you hear all the good messages that you're supposed to hear. So I think slowing things down, to me, is one of those ways where I can kind of tune in. Once I close some of these boxes, now, maybe I need to get more sleep. Or, man, I really haven't reached out. I need to make a more positive impact. I was too mean yesterday. Or, I think all those little thoughts start to go in. Or sometimes I like to take it and just do, they have mantras. And I think mantras are a really good way to do it too. So you can work on your breathing. But you can have a mantra that you just slowly repeat yourself in your head or out loud. So I have one. I've been on a weight loss journey, so I'm almost done. I got 20 more pounds-ish.
Wow, you're looking amazing.
But I was at 303. Yeah. I'm at 220-ish right now, and I want to get to 200.
Wow.
And so I've had many mantras, but the mantra I have right now is just, I want it. And it's a thought about, I want to get to 200 pounds. And so I just kind of, in my head, I'm just like, I want it.
I like that. I want it.
I want it. And so
you just repeat that to yourself over and over and over again. I want it.
I want it.
I want it. I want it. And I want it could be a lot of things. But yours is really specific.
That one is
to your losing your weight.
Yeah. And so how it helps is when I wake up in the morning and they open up a great donut shop literally 5 minutes from me. It's that thought. As soon as I start to look at the donut and become Homer Simpson, the mantra goes in the back of my head. And the mantra then takes me back to, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And now, instead of my lizard brain just wanting something, I can think of the big goal. And so mantras are a beautiful thing. The mantra could be letting go. The mantra could be forgiveness. One of my favorite mantras is just gratitude. It's hard. being a human is hard, and I do think we get bogged down in just looking and saying, look at the bad things that have happened in our life, but we are truly a miracle. Literally every human being is a miracle in the fact that we have this ability to live a life. And just being gratitude for being alive is something that should never be overestimated. You know, and it could be about gratitude about that. It could be about your partner. It could be about your career. It could be about your family. But just showing gratitude is just a simple way of taking that mindset. So we talked about breathing. It's a good way. Mantras. I think those are two. If I have to start, if you're new to this or you're trying to get into it and you're not sure, those are probably the two best ways to at least get a start, and then to slowly try to build up. Kind of day by day. I try. Ultimately, you should do this every day. So I will say that right off the bat. But at minimum, you should be doing this 3 to 4 times a week, making it part of your morning or evening ritual. Because everyone has 5 minutes. Everyone has 10 minutes. And if you don't have 10 minutes, my argument is, then there's definitely something else that you can take off your plate to get this done.
Yeah, I definitely like that. I thank you for giving that great visualization as well as this explanation behind it, because I think we all do need to take a little bit of time off and just kind of work on ourselves a little bit. If we don't have the 10 minutes, I have 10 minutes that I can spare, definitely. And I that's something that I should start working on as well too. Meditation has just always been hard, and I feel like meditation has this kind of weird, I wouldn't say stigma, but I don't know if it's stigma that the right word that I'm looking for, but it's just like it's for hippies or like
that's why I avoided it.
Only like crazy people or like I don't know what the exact word is behind it, but I always felt like earthy people or something are the ones who like to meditate. But I can definitely see where this will actually help me and any of our listeners as well too, to be able to get a little bit of peace, close down those windows, and continue.
Oh, that's definitely
like being at peace with yourself a little bit.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about, people don't like they don't like being in their own head, and they don't like looking at themselves in the mirror, right? There's those two little simple things, and I always think if I'm afraid of something, I want to know why I'm afraid of it. A lot of most fear is just the fear of the unknown. It's literally as simple as that. Something that we're not sure what's going to happen next, and it creates this you think of anxiety. Anxiety is just fear of the unknown, just at different levels. So if you do happen to have a little bit of anxiety issues, meditation is actually a real strong, really cheap, really effective, slow way to kind of help work on some of those things. It doesn't fix everything. I don't think I don't think there's very few things that fix everything. But I feel very strongly if you do it for 2 weeks. I'm a big 2-week person. Anytime you do any intervention, you do anything, you do it for 2 weeks. Okay. You don't have to take data. I like to take data. So if you're a data person, and your data could be very simple. It's just, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did you feel that day? And I think that's the easy way. So if you are one of those that you feel that the hippie part is what you're concerned with, take data on it. And, do a little 10-point scale. And measure what you want to measure. And I feel very strongly after 2 weeks, you will actually see the difference, and you will know how important it is to you.
I like that. I like that 2-week plan, because it's like that 14 days that you need to just do it consistently for like 14 days, and your brain kind of automatically reprocesses or kind of relearns that. It becomes a behavior. It becomes like an addiction. Where you don't have to think about it anymore. You just do it repeatedly. But it's just so hard. Like I've been trying to do that with the gym, and I have this hate relationship with this gym. because I can go for no problem for 14 days, and I will stop that 15 day right there in its tracks. Like full blown, like the 3 miles. For the longest time, all I could ever run was 3 miles. Like I was like, I cannot run past 3 miles. 3 miles come around, I'm like all brakes. I was like, I see on my watch or my phone, I hit the 3 miles and it's pumps. Pump the brakes. And it's the same thing with, with anything. Like when you're trying to meditate, when you're trying to like find this peace within yourself, you're like, like I'm not ready for this. I'll just continue doing my regular routine. But how do you, like continue the process? And I guess it's just your mantra that helps you continue saying what you're saying to yourself, like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to get down to 200 pounds. I want to have this body. And if I want to have this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
And continue repeating to yourself, or continue, like, visualize, or, I don't know.
No, visualization is a real strong one. That's one, I actually have it for my notes. I think it's a lot to unpack for visualization. But if you would add the third one, we talked about breathing, talked about mantra, visualization is absolutely the third one of visualizing. So if you want to lose weight, visualize what you look like at that weight. Visualize you accomplishing that goal. Now, it doesn't automatically mean the goal happens, but there's something about the mindset, because if you can visualize it, you can actually see the path to get there. So I think that's why visualization is a strong tool. And yes, you want to be in the right mindset, and definitely I'm actually pro hippie, so I don't want to talk about, we're not anti hippie. We like hippies.
I'm not anti hippie either. I just feel like the meditation is hippie for whatever reason. Like I feel like it's I don't know, it's not for me. Like it's not the right word to use. But it's the only thing I can define it, kind of just saying I'm not too good for it, but I don't need to do that. That's not for me, and that doesn't work on me, or whatever other excuse I can find in the book that I have, the excuse book that I have out.
I like the excuse, and actually it brings up a very important aspect of what you talked about with you in the gym, and you with meditation, with me and my limits when I try to lose weight. Is you set the floors and ceilings on your abilities by your thoughts.
Yeah.
And I think what you said about the 3 miles was very interesting. So humans have been running forever, right? And I'm pretty sure they could run more than 3 miles or we wouldn't be here as a species, right?
Right.
So if Godzilla showed up in Galveston Bay, could you run more than 3 miles?
Oh, I'm sure I could.
You sure? Yeah, right?
Right.
Your body had the ability.
Yeah.
It was your brain that limited you, not your body. So remember what I talked about earlier, how if you want to fix your body, you got to work on your brain?
Yeah.
That's what happens is you put in your head, I can only do this many.
Yes.
I can't do any more. So when you start thinking that thought, what happens to that neuron? That neuron gets stronger and stronger. And at some point, it actually believes it can't do it. So I'll give you an example. And it's just an example. But back in the days in the circus, and I'm not for circus elephants, but back in the day, they would have these circus elephants. And there'll be this large elephant, and there'll be this small little stake in the ground and a little rope.
Yeah.
And, you kind of would look and you realize that elephant is so much stronger than that rope. It can snap it off at a twig, but it never does. And so what they do is usually they get these elephants when they're babies. And when they get it when they're babies, that rope is strong enough, and they knock it down really hard. So the elephant struggles and tries and realizes it can't get through the rope. Even as that elephant becomes an adult, it still has the same mindset that it can't get through the rope when it could snap it like a twig. We do that to our own brains. And I think when we short ourselves and go, I'm too dumb, I can never finish school. I will never lose weight. This person's always going to be smarter than me. You're the baby elephant. And I think mentally, so I think you do a lot of, and meditation starts there, you do a lot of mental practice. It's this mental practice of, is that thought, not necessarily a positive, negative thought, but am I limiting myself? Now, you can't fly off into gravity, right? We have rules, other things. But I really do think many of the things that slow us down is us limiting ourselves.
I mean, they say that you only use 10% of your brain, right? Is that...
It technically you use more than 10% of your brain, but I think the thing is you really are not maximizing its potential.
Your brain potential, so that's what I guess that's what totally makes sense, because people, there's people who can tolerate pain like crazy, and there's certain people like me that, I mean, you stick me with something and I'm like, where is my pain medication? I need like hydrocodone or whatever, like and I don't know if it's like just mentality behind it all, but people are like can walk with fire, or can or you see like your adrenaline can like lift the car up to save your child or to save something, like if you have that willpower. But ask me today if I can lift my car up, there'd be no way, but it's just my brain. If I really practice every day, like, oh, I can lift this car up, okay, I'm gonna, but also lift weights, and also I'm gonna like get fit so that I can lift this car up, like I can fly. Okay, I can fly. I just can't fly with my hands. I need instrument, so what I can accomplish if I want to fly, and that's just part of your brain.
Yes, I like the example, and there'll be rare times we're going to have to lift up to be the Hulk and lift up a car, but there's a lot of times that we just need to be a good friend to somebody and take the extra 10 minutes to drive out their way, or maybe when you see someone struggling, just stop and just lend an encouraging hand. So I think it's not just all these superhuman feats. I really think it's the small little things every day that you limit yourself, and it goes back. We could talk a whole session on negative self-talk.
Yeah. And
that's the one where people beat themselves up a lot.
Yeah.
It's their own personal bully. And this slowing down mindfulness kind of helps to... Now, you need to be critical of yourself, right? Because there's the opposite. There's some people who don't beat themselves up enough. But I do think that really helps to be objective about what's really happening and takes the emotions out of it.
No, I like that. I like that a lot, because I need that. I need to take the emotions out of going to the gym or running or doing whatever task that I just feel like is just too hard to complete at whatever time in my life. And if I could just really concentrate on, having a mantra. I think that's what I'm missing, is having a mantra and repeating that mantra and saying to myself, yes, you can do this. Yes, you can. What's your mantra again?
I want it.
I want it. I want it. And that is just so like specific but broad at the same time. I want it can mean a whole lot of things. I want $1 million. I want to be rich. I want to be famous. I want to do whatever. But what are you gonna accomplish? Is that, like, I can say to myself, I want something. I want $1 million. But that doesn't mean that's gonna happen tomorrow. But if I win not if I win the lottery, but if I work hard, if I am successful, what I'm doing is okay. So I want $1 million. How do I get this $1 million? Or how do I get this perfect body? Okay, hey, we have a caller on Real Talk 100 Radio, POZ Impact. Let's see what they have to say. You are live on POZ Impact.
Hey, Josh. It's Lady Hale.
Hi, Lady Hale.
Hello.
Hey, miss y'all so much. We here sitting home, enjoying the show. Really enjoying the show.
Oh, thank you for calling. This is, for everybody who doesn't know, Lady Hale is my co-host. She usually will be here every Monday as well too with me, and then she's Tuesdays. But
you up there with me on every Tuesday.
Yes.
So we both here sick, so we couldn't get out.
We hope you guys feel better soon.
Yes, we do. And I'm really enjoying the talk, and I think I like it a whole lot because dealing with the mental health issues right now, especially with the holidays, especially with so many things going on. And I just wanted to touch on that and get the doctor's opinion. What do you think about the church shootings? It's getting to the point where church was the last place that you usually could feel safe. So now you can't even feel safe at church. Because I was watching the video when the gunman got up to shoot. It's about 5 or 6 other people got up and started shooting.
So, of course, that's very tragic, and it's a very tough thing to think about. Am I even safe at the place of my worship? But again, I'm a big fan of math. I do not have the numbers directly in front of me, but in human history that we are aware of, we have never been safer as a society, as a people. And I always look back, let's go backwards, 300 years.
Yes.
Right?
I need to finish this topic.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No,
I'll finish it.
No, we've never been safer.
Yes, I'll bear it out. 300 years ago, we didn't realize the benefits of antiseptic. We didn't have surgeries. People died just because they got a cold. People died because their leg, they died because they had too much wax in their ear.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get their teeth done. Dysentery. Most people died of just not having clean water, which is still an issue in a third world country.
And hello, United States.
It's like, or Flint,
Michigan.
So I do get that, but you have to remember, there's never been, to what we are aware of, there's also never been this many humans on the planet. So if you took, I love using this as just a thought, right? So a 1 in a million occurrence, there's almost 350 million Americans.
Yes.
Right? Theoretically, 3.5 people get a 1 in a million occurrence happens to them every day. There's just always gonna be something going on when you have 7 billion people on one big rock.
I understand.
So yes, is it scary that, man, even at church people are shooting? The answer is yes. It is a scary thing. We need to address it, and there's many ways to look at it. But when I look at it, that's why I like talking about numbers, because I'm talking about probabilities.
Yes.
How many churches were open that Sunday in the United States?
Probably millions all over the United States.
Yeah, probably billions.
So go back to percentages. What percentage of you where you actually are in this danger?
I know, but how do you not, how do we get to this point where we can't feel safe in our, I don't go to church, but I would think that would be the one place that you can feel safe at, and it's all of a sudden, you don't know what church you're going to end up in. There's going to be a shooting.
Well, so the best thing I could...
the percentage of it, the percentage is so low. But I guess it's like when you see the news factor, how they just blast it all over the news. That's a part of the news, putting a fear factor in it.
But it goes back to that mindfulness, because the truth is, none of us are ever safe. If you really think about it, there is no... Think of the concept of safe. What is the concept of safe?
In my home where no one can shoot me.
That's fine, but...
I have no guns.
But
I have no weapons.
People fall in the bathtub, right? People die in their sleep.
Okay, yeah.
So, and I'm not trying to talk about this negative things. This is not Final Destination, the movie. But the point is, there is an illusion of safety. Anything can happen to you at any time. Sure. You actually have no control over it.
Sure.
And the more you let go of the thought of I have control. You have control over your life. but you have no control over your surroundings, and you also have no control over the environment.
And other people.
So when I go out, my mentality is I'm going to go out with a smile on my face. I'm going to be prepared, but I'm not going to go out scared. Because when I go out scared, I'm not going to bring the energy that's needed for the people, for me and the people around me. So when these bad things happen, still go to church.
Okay.
Still do the things that you do, because A, the probability is in your favor, and B, it's your life. It's your path. It is your journey. Don't let other things, especially things that was at least in Texas, right? You know, so at least it was a little close.
It was Fort Worth.
But I would never let those things affect what I do, because it goes back to those neurons. You start to limit yourself, because you're like, well, shoot, maybe I shouldn't go to church. Maybe I shouldn't hang out with my friends. Maybe I shouldn't. Yeah. And now you're starting to think about all these things that can happen.
Clubs. I try to avoid. I mean, there was just somebody just posted something from a dating app saying that they're gonna shoot everybody at the club in Dallas, at a gay club in Dallas. Like, hope it'll be the next.
But
you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I'm just thinking, like, can I not go out anywhere anymore?
But that is the mentality you have to fight if you want to live.
True.
And that's the one thing because you can always think of something. You can think the ants, the insects can go crazy and take us all out.
I mean, but the problem
or Godzilla's coming. I like using the Godzilla one. So yes, I understand the point, but it is we can only control our mentality. We cannot control that. We can only control that, and if we come in with that, that's going to put us in the right spot to enjoy our life. Because no matter what, when the clock ticks and it's over, it's over no matter what.
I mean, we could burn up in the building right now.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lady Hell. Hope you guys feel better. Sending my love over there. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
I can't come. I don't think so. Mr. Hell's still sick.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, then maybe
he's thinking about having to go to the emergency room. I'm just sitting here waiting on the doctor to call us back.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, let me know if y'all need anything, please.
All right. Thanks. Love you, Josh.
Bye, Lady Hell.
Bye.
Okay.
Send some love to Mr. Hell as well, too.
Okay. Thank you.
And Avian.
Bye-bye.
No, these are really good stuff.
That is a really good question, because I didn't really think about that, but yes, the shooting just happened, and honestly, I don't go to bars or clubs that much, because I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I'm going, for New Year's Eve to Stay Your Life, but they have metal detectors, or they want you with something, because I know I've had like metal something, and they're like, oh, what is this?
Yeah.
So,
and I love Stereo Live. Can something happen at Stereo Live? Yeah, something bad could happen. More probable, maybe a fight, right? A couple of dudes, which I've never seen a fight there, and I've been there a lot. But also, couldn't someone fall in love the first time they're there, while you're there at Stereo Live? Could that be possible?
That is possible.
Could someone meet their future best friend at Stereo Live?
Yeah, that is possible. It's a possibility.
So what it means is there's negative possibilities, but there's also positive possibilities, right?
Right.
You may end up going and dancing your butt off and having one of the top 20 moments of your last year. That's also possible.
Yeah.
So that's what should be in your head. Yes.
Instead of the fear.
Yes. The fear can't happen, but I like looking at it like math. If I'm going to have a scary thought, I need to know what the inverse of that thought is.
Okay.
To cancel it out.
Okay.
Okay, so fine. Godzilla destroys the place.
Yeah.
But also that night, 3 people can get together, start a new company that changes the world.
Okay.
And they're both just as probable.
They're just both butts, yeah.
Right? Okay. And in many cases, none of them happen, right? You just go and have a good time, have some drinks.
Yeah.
So definitely, please go out. It's New Year's. Go out. Don't be afraid.
Go to church.
Go to church. Meditate. So those things are definitely possible. So I want to get to the second mindset. And the second mindset, excuse me, is about open-mindedness.
Okay.
So as we get into the new year, we're going to have an interesting year, 2020, and I definitely am not going to talk politics. We're not going to talk politics.
New management.
I like the phrase. I put that in the title of my book, of being open-minded.
Yeah.
But you do have to realize that going back to 7 billion people, a lot of people have different ideas. They grew up different ways. And that your thoughts are your own, and you're entitled to your thoughts, and you should have them. You should have strong thoughts. But you have to remember, just because someone disagrees with you, that's okay too. And it should be. I mean, think what happened if we all thought exactly the same thing. Think how boring the world would be if we all just agreed.
To have food for all, to have paid for college, to have...
So, and even if you do all those things, and I'm for all those things, but for someone who's dealt with humans, humans are the problem of perfection. So even if you gave every human $1 million and free hugs, there
will be another problem somewhere, somehow.
Yes, we would have the teddy bear war of 2023, right? There'll always be something that kind of takes place for that. So I really want everyone to go into the mindset of being open-minded. Not only being open-minded that other people have opinions, but open-minded that you can actually change yours. So here's what I don't want to say worried, I don't get worried often, but this is what concerns me when I see people talk nowadays. They talk with so much conviction, and they talk with so much emotion, and they go with no data, and they actually don't have any foundation. And to me, that is what's scary. And this is not, I'm not even talking about, I'm talking about everybody. Yeah. You can take every side of any spectrum, and I think that's what worries me, where people take one little line they see on the internet, and they'll build a whole ideology based off that one line.
Even you bet you. I sure will. I'm guilty of that, especially. I should do more data checking and more fact checking. But at the same time, like somebody who's opposing me, like somebody who continually supposes that, like, we're going to talk a little bit of politics, but somebody who currently supports this current administration, how do you have an open mind when you're like, how do you support somebody who wants to put babies in cages? How do you support somebody who's taking away my rights as who I am as an individual?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so once you're affecting me, okay, yeah, maybe the immigrants who are being locked in cages and taken away the children taken away from their families. Maybe yes, it didn't affect me at the moment. Yes, it's wrong. That's a policy I don't agree with. You know, and you may support for whatever the reason is. But then when you get to me, and you're actually affecting me as a human and my well-being, then that's where I'm like, okay, no, we will disagree, but I'm right. Like you should not interfere with my life. You know, so how do you get from that? How do you have an open mind in that scenario?
Sure.
You know.
So there's multiple ways we're going to go about this, but I'm going to start with the simplest thing that we have to avoid of anything is, at the end of the day, we are human. There's another human being over there. You have to respect humanity in general. Because the minute you don't respect humanity is when all the bad things that you talked about take place. Because you'll see it. So we'll take the example of the kids in cages. When you start to look at them not as kids, then you could put them in cages, right? But so humanity is the first way. So that's one example that works, but also works the other way around. You know, me as a behavior analyst, I'm fortunate. I try to be objective. So sometimes I can talk to someone. I mean, I've talked to people that are super racist. I've talked to people who are super sexist, and I actually like to talk to these groups of people.
Oh my goodness, how?
Because you need to understand they're still just a human. They just have ideas. Maybe they're a little misguided. Maybe they have one good point milled with 90% crap. If you really think about it, most bad people don't think they're bad. No one wakes up and goes, I'm a bad... No.
Yeah.
I'm a bad guy. Most people actually think what they're doing is good for them or their tribe. So I think it's really trying to realize what is it that they're truly wanting. And once you understand what they're truly wanting, now you can actually get to a solution. So, and we're going to talk immigration just briefly because I think it makes a good point. And I can't speak for the people who are against it. You know, and the simplicity is people are afraid that some people are going to come over and do things that are bad. You know, and that actually is a valid concern. I think.
What is the percentage of it?
True, I understand the percentage, but it's the realization is that's what their fear is. They don't have the data on the percentage. The percentage is low, but that is their fear. So when you talk to someone, first off, the yelling social justice warrior, I'm going to tap on the keyboard, has never changed anyone's opinion. I like to fix things. I don't want to yell at someone and feel better because I made someone feel worse. Right? Yeah. So I want to figure out, okay, well, I asked them questions. Well, okay, well, I understand you feel this way about immigration. Give me more insight. Because then when you start to ask them a couple questions, now you can realize, they don't have any data. I can actually provide data for them now. And they can still make their decision. Yeah. Or maybe they just have a lot of emotions because they had something bad happen to them. They got bullied by someone who was immigrant. Now I can say, oh, bullying that stink. So that's when you close yourself off in the tribe of all our tribe is right, all their tribe is wrong, we have lost. We have completely lost because we're not listening anymore. So I encourage every one of you to, when you come across a situation, just ask for information. You're not asking to be converted, and you're not there necessarily to convert them. You just want to understand more. And what I've come to realize is when I get to understand why someone wants something, I actually am now able to change their mind, or I'll make sure they pause on their thought. Because now I'm not coming at them in this aggressive manner. I'm actually understanding them as a human. So it's this open-mindedness thing, mindfulness was important because that's you. Open-mindedness is both you and your belief structure, and then being comfortable having conversations with other people and other belief structures. And it's hard, especially when they're against your system, against your tribe.
It is a lot of emotion. I think it's 90% emotion and then like 10% data. But I guess it's trying to separate the emotion from, listen, even somebody within your same party. I mean, right now we have like 12 different or 13 different, like 16 different candidates running for president at the moment, So, and they all have like different beliefs on how to fix the current system, how we are in the moment, And so I'm trying to be open-minded at the same time, but it's hard to be when you're like, this is the wrong way to go. Like, I know the best way to do it, but...
Wrong? But see, so you're not... you can't be sure that it's the wrong way to go. There may be different paths. Yeah. There may be better paths, but that mindset of, this is the only... Yeah. The words, only, never, always... Yes. Those are always red flag traps. Once I hear them, it's like, no. Okay. So, but yes, but you're right. There's many paths to this door, and you want to choose a better path.
So how do you be open-minded? I guess just if something doesn't agree with you, take 5 minutes, take a deep breath, or and then try to analyze and trying to have your not your lizard brain working, but your actual.
You want to use your advanced part. So, empathy works for almost everybody. So I didn't use all people. The small percentage though. But empathy works for everybody. A lot of people just want to be heard. I really think a lot of issues we have in our country, we actually have two countries. We have big city, right? all your big cities tend to skew a certain way. We're used to diversity. We're used to having, different people from different dialects all working together. And then there's another part of the country that is just predominantly, and they have a proper function. They're out there farming, or they're out there in small town Texas, and they don't see Houston. They don't see 6 million plus people. All they're gonna get is what they see on TV. So it doesn't. And not that it necessarily makes sense, but they're only going to look at what they see and make interpretations off what they see. Some people have never been in a big city above 100,000 people in their life. So I think just knowing that kind of helps to realize, once you realize where they're coming from, they don't have the same experience. I think it's easy, let's use racism. I'm a big black guy. It's easy to hate someone if you never met a black guy, because you can say whatever you want. You never met one, you never interacted with one. But what happens when you go and you happen to hang out somewhere at an Astros game and you happen to sit? You don't care about color, you care about the Astros.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we need to do, that open-mindedness of just personalizing ourselves. I think a lot of people, let's take, the topic of, people who have alternative lifestyle and different sexual.
Yeah, well, hold on. Let's get back to racism real quick.
Okay.
This is like, my favorite thing is like when people say like, oh, I have black friends.
Uh-huh.
Like, okay, and, like, so what do you do there? Like, how do you be open, how do you open that person to be open-minded? Even though you may be open-minded, you're like, okay, yes, that doesn't really make sense just because you make a racist joke.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, oh, I'm not racist because I have black friends. Then, how do you address that situation, or how do you address, a lot of friends, I have some friends that, have like racist jokes, and I'm like, hey dude, this is stupid, this is racist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, I'm not racist. I'm like, this is the joke that you just made makes you a racist.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, a joke does not make you a racist. What is a racist? What's the definition of a racist?
I mean, somebody who doesn't like the color of your skin for whatever the reason.
Okay,
but that's
a joke doesn't necessarily do that.
Okay, but if someone's saying like calling you the N-word, or someone just not calling you, but just in general generalizing this, like, oh, this person is a this and this person is a that,
mm-hmm.
or this person is a queer, or is
mm-hmm.
a faggot, or whatever the case is to whoever.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, oh, I have a gay friend, or I have gay friends. I'm not homophobic, or I'm not racist.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like, okay, yeah, but what you're saying is racist.
Yes.
Like, what it's like?
So, I would look at that as saying, don't put them in a category. Like you put a category of saying, because he told this joke, he is racist.
Yeah.
That's actually incorrect.
Okay.
Right? He or she told a racist joke does not equal a racist. And the reason why categories are important is once you categorize someone, now you put the whole label of, you put the whole racist cloak on that person, right?
I mean,
no, but that is your opinion.
Okay, yes.
They may have had the racist hat,
True.
but you put the whole racist outfit on them.
Sure do.
Right? That is not helping society get better.
Okay.
Because you're categorized. Just the same way as when someone takes one part of you and defines you by that whole part of it.
Okay.
So I am a male. I am color of my skin. I'm a behavior analyst. I like EDM music. I really like Godzilla because I've mentioned him like 6 times now. We are like 8 categories. So I don't want anyone to define me in my category, but I, in most cases, will not automatically define someone else. So that person told a racist joke. Yes. Does that make them a racist? Not necessarily. So you can talk to them about, I don't like the joke, but don't come at them as saying you are a racist. And see how the difference, if I come at you and say you're a label, you're not going to respond to me.
Okay.
Whereas I say, hey, okay, like that. A, that joke wasn't that funny, or B, there's other ways to deflect and say, that joke's a little off color, not my type, and then you just move on. You don't dwell on it, because what you're wanting is atonement. You want that person but who are you to judge? Why are you all of a sudden the racism judge of the world to attack? And so there's something about humans that like to tell other humans what to do. And we all do it. And that's an example of that point. It doesn't work. Because if I did it to you, you'd be like, screw you. Sure. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. So I talk about the joke, but then I move on. I want to talk about, going back to, if you just harp on negative things on people, you're only going to talk about negative things. You can talk about positive things and talk about good things that happen, or hey, they have a black friend, that's great. When's the last time they went to a black church? Or, you want to get them thinking in that positive mindset, because then, if they are truly a racist, it'll show itself out. It's not your job to uncover the mystery. Your job is to keep them moving forward. Okay. So I think it's to get them involved with some diversity, but I wouldn't dwell on the joke. They're just words. Words don't hurt. No, words don't hurt. When you're doing the mindfulness, when you're open-minded, you realize they're just words, right? And you take the emotion.
I guess that's the emotion part of it, where like your emotion is hurt, or your body's not hurt. You're not physically in pain.
Not physically,
but your emotion, whether someone talk to me like, they'll talk to me crazy because I'll come back to you. But that's my emotion.
But it doesn't fix.
Sure.
And I always think, when most of the bad things happen, especially under the influence of alcohol and other things, it's using that lizard brain. I'm gonna defend this entire right now. I'm gonna put this person in their place. There are some times when that needs to happen, but I can almost argue that's like 2% of the time. 98% of the time, it's just saying, hey, what's going on, brother? Are you okay? Are you having a rough day? Works a lot better if you actually want to fix something. So always, and even sometimes, because sometimes some people will come at me because I have a big mouth, and I like to talk. And I usually ask them a simple question: do you want to have an argument, or do you want to try to fix? Because I want them to declare: are we trying to work together to make the world a better place? I don't care what position you are. We're just trying to be two good humans, just trying to have a good time. Or do you want to come argue? Because now if you want to come argue at me, cool, well, I'm going to argue with you. I walk away. So that's where that emotional control really, really helps in those situations. So the simple way to look at it is, if your emotions are involved, you're going to mess up.
Okay. So try to be less emotional when you're trying to convince someone to do something for you, or when someone's in the wrong and you're trying to find out why, instead of emotionally take this 5 minutes, take a deep breath, and have your active brain, or your can't think of this.
Yeah, you can take your more advanced side of your brain.
And try to figure out the root cause of why this person is saying stuff that they're saying, or
the simplicity thing, if I had to break things down, and I've been a behavior analyst for over 20 years. I've done a lot of work with autism, is where a lot of my specialty is, but I really, really just think about the human experience. Most, not all, but in most situations, people just want attention or be heard. I mean, if it's a quick default. If you're not sure what to do, sometimes some people say things to get a reaction out of people because they want attention. So it has nothing to do with racism.
Okay.
Maybe they're lonely. Maybe they don't have a lot of friends. Or maybe they have a lot of friends, but maybe they're struggling and they're calling for help. Or maybe they're just stressed out and just releasing stress. So when you look at it from that standpoint, now I've taken all the racism and all that, now I'm looking at the human. That's what I want open-mindedness to do. Stop looking at the words, look at that brain. Because that's where all that stuff's coming from. And when you look at that brain and connect with that person, it makes things a whole lot easier. And I think it really puts you, you know when, you know it when you've had a conversation with someone, even if you disagree with, and then you walk away just feeling better because you feel like you both heard each other. Well, you have control over that, and I think the opposite, right? We've had conversations where you just leave all angry,
Sure.
and so I think being open-minded, and so type of open-minded in others, but yet to also be open-minded in listening to actually what they have to say. So, and I know this is a tough example, but there are people who do believe. I don't know if they believe that immigration should be a certain way. You should at least listen if they have a good thought. Now, sometimes, like I said, they're just talking with ignorance. That's its own thing. But you have to be okay to realize that some of your beliefs are wrong. Right now, as me and you sit here, there is no way 100% of everything I think of is correct. It's impossible. And, the question I like to ask, I'll ask you and just, ask everyone to challenge themselves. When's the last time you actually changed a belief system? When's the last time you thought something so strongly but actually did research and changed your mind? Because that's an important thing.
No, and that's funny because that has happened to me recently. I've been for 100% towards this, and then I'm like, okay, let me do a little bit of research, and then I'm like, oh, okay. I'm no longer, even though I was like 100% convicted, I was sure I was right. There's no way I could be wrong, and then somebody posted something, or I did a little bit more research, and I was like, okay, I was convinced based on this data, and that I saw, and I did a little bit more research and got, okay, this is not how it ended up to be. But those are rare scenarios that people actually do change their minds of how they're actually thinking. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, a favorite Facebook meme or meme that's out there, like, when was the last time that someone changed their mind off of a post that you posted?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, I don't know, but sometimes you do like change your mind. Like if you see something else, it questions your belief. It's like somebody posts something that I'm like, okay, I will click on the link, or I'll do something to do more research behind it and just follow through if my reasoning is correct, or if there's another path behind it. Like maybe my way's not the right way, or how I always thought it was going to be. But it doesn't really happen at all.
It doesn't happen often, but that is a very important human step, right? Because if you really, it goes back to that elephant. If you really think all the things that you learned when you were 18 years old and they all hold true, then there's going to be some things that you just haven't realized that have changed. And sometimes it's not that your stance was maybe correct before, it's just things have changed. Technology has changed. You have changed. So I really, I think that's a big challenge to yourself. You haven't, and at least at minimum, been open to do the research, right? Because it's easy I think people just pick sides now and just go, oh, I'm on this side and I'm just going to root for the team. And they don't do any research. And so when you ask them a question, all they have is emotion. So I really look at, and meditation is a good example. I like I said, at some point I was like, hey, nope, meditation, not for me. I'm smart enough, I don't need it. And I was completely wrong, to the fact it was the first thing, so in terms of the book, my book's gone to lots of different things, but I try to base it down to about 9 core things, and some of these are some that are listed. Mindfulness was number 1. Meditation ended up number 1 on the list.
Wow.
Which if you would have told me 20 years ago, I would have laughed.
Yeah.
So what that means is that I'm allowing my brain the flexibility to change its mind. And I think you'll see people sometimes, they get so dug into a point that they're just dug in, they'll go down with that ship regardless. And I don't want to be that person. It's okay to admit when you're wrong. You want it in other people, so I want that in myself. So when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. But also what that means, and for people around me and know me, if I've done my research and I'm right, and I know I'm right, and I bring data, they see it. They'll see it in my eyes because they know I'm open. So I think that's where it builds that connection of openness to really change not only you, but the people around you. So, there's some people that, they're talking, but they don't mean what they say. And I like to protect my word values. I control the words that come out of my mouth. They should mean something. I just want to speak a lot of things. So I'll get on one quick soapbox. I don't like the people that describe everything as amazing, or describe as everything, this is the worst day of my life, and they say that in jest. Going back to that kind of limiting the brain thing, but also so if today is amazing and something better happens tomorrow, how do you describe that? We need to use our words, because that's actually how we describe the world around us. And there's a lot of people that take their words and they just throw them away very carelessly. And I like to protect mine. So if I say I'm having a bad day, that's different than I'm having a horrible day or I'm being frustrated. Those are actually 3 completely different days. But if you go, oh, today was terrible, yesterday was terrible, and another day was terrible. Yeah. You're not, and then same thing for your brain. Your brain just goes, oh, okay, just lumps them all under terrible, and then just walks away from it. So I think I have lots of soapboxes, but word value is one, that I kind of preach on from time to time.
I think that should be, your word value should be, we should all try to, when we're speaking, we should try to make sense of what we're going to say, or try to have like some kind of end process, or making sure that we're going to, whatever we say is going to communicate to the other person correctly or effectively. Because I could be speaking to you and gibberish, and you're just like, I have no idea what this guy's talking about. Move along, and I won't interpret anything of what you just said to me, just because of the way I was talking to you, my demeanor, or however. So, being that open-mindedness is, I think, it's a hard thing for everybody.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. It's really hard to be challenged. It's really, who wants to be wrong? Like, no one wakes up and like,
I want to be wrong today.
I want to be proven wrong today. I mean, it's like a direct ego bruise.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But the open-mindedness really, and what it really does, and this is what it's done for me, and I've been on a little bit of a journey, and we'll see, because this journey's taking me to different paths, and we'll see when the book comes out, and doing the coaching, and just, some other projects I have going. But I've noticed that the more open I became of who I am, because I'm a very, I still am, but I was very guarded, would never talk about myself. I'll say narrow-minded, it took me a while to expand, but the more I really started to just leave myself open and a little bit vulnerable, it's changed my conversations. It's changed my weight. I lost the weight. I've always wanted to lose weight, but it was my mentality started to change, then my weight started to change. And so even now, as I started to write the book, as I started to go into these other ventures, as I started to reach out to people that thought different than me, my connection to people has changed dramatically. And I like the fact that I can go hang out at a bar and have a conversation with almost just about anyone and find a way to connect. Because even if you take someone on the opposite end of your political spectrum, you have more in common with that human than that you don't have in common. You might like the same sports teams, or you grew up in the same area. There's always a common bond, and I think when I go into my mentality, that open mindset of, I'm going to find a way to connect to every person I'm able to, that changes how they react to me. So I've been just very happy in seeing that growth and kind of sharing that part. But yes, open-mindedness is, the mindfulness, open-mindedness are 2 of the mindsets that you will always work on. You don't perfect them. But if you can really, really start to work on those 2 things, they really, really help on your day-to-day basis. Just with the struggle of when bad things happen, fear, afraid to get tested. I know last time I was here, a lot of the fear is, well, what happens if I get tested? Well, you will deal with you'll have to deal with that. But
yeah, for sure.
It goes into those type of things.
That is still a huge fear for a lot of people is what happens if when I get tested. And how do you break that cycle? How do you have an open mind? How do you promote that open-mindedness to somebody else? So how do you go to somebody and say, hey, when was the last time you got tested? And then how do you proceed to have them receive it? Because they also have to have the open mind. But how do you, and I'm sure that it's with your words as well too, but how do you channel their brain, channel their mentality and say, okay, this is what is your fear? I guess just really by talking to them and it's having what's the fear behind it, why you don't want to get tested, or what's this behind it, and walking through it and trying to make sure that they can understand things will get better.
Yes.
But, you were negative, great. You're positive, okay, we'll deal with it. This is the next step you have to take. Let's get you undetectable, let's get you on some medication, let's get you, if you don't have insurance, it's okay, we'll find coverage for you. But it's this fear of the unknown is what I think a lot of people have a problem with. But how do you shake that fear? Or how do you, when I'm talking to somebody and hey, when was the last person you got tested? Oh, I got tested 3 weeks ago or 3 months. The favorite one is 3 months ago. Oh, okay. 3 months ago you got tested? Okay, for who? Oh, everything. My doctor tested me for everything. I'm okay. Okay, everything? Okay, what is everything?
Yeah.
But how do you be open-minded? So you have to come with an open mind, and what happens if the other person has an open mind? How do you open their mind to have an open mind?
Sure. And I would say you laid it out really well as a good behavior analyst. I think how you mentioned it in its short steps of trying to get to the point, because it's going back. I always think the behavior analyst is, once you understand the function of the behavior, then it's easy to do an intervention. And usually there's more common types of things. Humans do things for attention, to escape, self-stimulatory, kind of things they do over and over again, obsessive. Or sometimes they'll do it for tangible. They want something, money. But a lot of things are for attention or escape. And then fear goes into the escape model, right? So I think the open-mindedness is, first, you go with the open mind, you having word value, right? So you want to make sure when you approach them that you have come with empathy and just have a good conversation. These things are personal. So having them at a bar at 1 o'clock a.m. is probably not the best time to have them. These are face-to-face conversations. I always think...
So picking the timing and picking the location is so crucial.
Environment is everything. I always think the more personal it is, the closer I need to be in proximity to that person. So it's okay to send a text of saying, hey, I'm checking in on you on that time. If I want to have a true one-on-one conversation, I want to see that person. Because a person's eyes, you can see in a person's eyes really quickly what's going on. And as humans, we actually, and this is where I don't have the data, but our nonverbal communication is much stronger than our verbal communication.
Oh, for sure.
So...
don't make me read somebody in my eyes.
So I think the simple way is you want to get them in that, because then you can read them. If they're already anxious and nervous, maybe I might not start that conversation, but I might start, I call it a connecting conversation. So I'm going to talk about just fear of the unknown. Man. And then I like to relate for mine. I had this one time I was afraid of XYZ. This is how I worked through it. This kind of helped me, And I don't pitch it back to them. I'm laying groundwork. And so if someone's anxious, I'm going to talk about fear of the unknown or just fear in general. I'm going to talk about, how to do proper research, because whether they get, whatever news they get, they're going to do research. Now, when I start to get them in the right, when I can see they're connecting to the concepts, now I can ask them about, okay, honestly, when was the last time you were tested? Then now I've kind of have loosened some of the walls that have been put up. It's the best way to do it.
That's a great explanation behind it, to help us all, because sometimes we just want to rush to that question And rushing to that question is not always the right way, especially and talking about HIV. You know, when we talk about any kind of testing, you know, but if you're talking about HIV testing and ask somebody, hey, when was your last HIV test? A lot of people will be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Why do I even need to get an HIV test?
Mm-hmm.
You know, not knowing the factors behind it all, and especially here in Houston, which we're still number 12 in the nation for a new HIV diagnosis. And I'm like, how can Houston being, and it's this afraid of being tested, this knowledge of not knowing and not wanting to know, you know, and then how do you, so like I'm not friends with somebody, how do you pass this message to the Roscoe? How do you?
So I look at it as, it is one of those things, you know, be the change you want to see, which is it's one of those. It's true. It is. I mean, it's very true, but it's kind of hard to conceptualize. So I always look, if I go out into space. Let's go back to the 1 a.m. at the bar. Not the greatest example, but we'll use it as an example.
No, and it really is because, or any bar. If I'm going out tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, I had this conversation with somebody else, and we talked about like getting tested. It's where you're gonna get tested at. At the club, I'm not gonna get tested at the club. I'm not in the mentality to get tested at the club. At the club, I'm having to go to a good time. I'm there to drink. I'm there to party. I'm there to do whatever. And my mindset was to do. The last thing is to get tested, and I definitely don't want to be found out that I'm HIV positive when I'm out with my friends. Trying to have a good time.
Yeah. So
that is the wrong time, the wrong frame, the wrong everything. And I do wish that people would stop trying to get people to get tested, because who does want to get tested then? You know, so like, but then where do you go out? Like,
so I think what you would have said is the mentality of, I think simplicity of, hey, I mean, if 1 o'clock you're just having conversations, you know, when you leave people that you may have just you're curious about, just always tell them, I appreciate you, I love you, you know, whatever that connecting thing. You want to connect with them to say, I love you as a human, I love you as a brother. Be responsible. You know, I always want to keep a generic, you know, hey, be responsible, make sure, and then I'll say, make sure you get tested, make sure you take your vitamins. You know, I may give them two. I won't give them too many things. I won't give maybe 2 things, but I want to get that confirmation of, did you understand? Do you understand what I'm talking about? So you can have that. I've been doing lately. I don't know if this is. Well, I like doing it, but if I go have breakfast or something, and if I'm sitting by myself, I'm sitting at the bar, I'll ask the waitress, what's your life plan? I mean, really? I'll ask a waiter or waitress.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and they could just, they may, you know, and in that case, usually I've had enough conversation where I know that I can ask that question. But that's where that's when you being genuine can open doors where sometimes, you know, others can't. And so I think being genuine to say, look, I appreciate you, you know, if there's anything you need from me, you know, I'll be there for you. And then I'll say, hey, if you haven't got tested, make sure you do honestly get tested. And I give 1 or 2 facts why. And I just plant the seed. So what happens next time I see that person? Hey, what's going on, man? So, did you get tested? Now I can go straight into the question, because I've laid all this groundwork for them. Now I'll probably get that a better, honest answer. So what you gotta do sometimes is 2 parts. Always think, you lay your groundwork.
So you gotta butter them up.
No, but you don't necessarily butter them up. You want, if you want to use analogies, you want to knock down their defenses, so that when you time to take the shot, they have no defenses left, and then you'll get your honesty out of them.
Okay, sorry, I want to move a little bit ahead.
Sure.
To it's a little bit. I guess this is meditation as well too, but you know, we talk about this 15 minutes beforehand, you know, before your day starts, but also like you have like fight to get 1 hour at the beginning and the end of your day. Yes.
Yes.
That is. an hour is a little bit hard. But everybody has an hour, and at least everybody has like 15 to 20 minutes. So if you can get down to this 15 to 20 minutes a day that you spend morning and night, and I like how you kind of laid it out a little bit of how to spend this hour, and I feel like it would help a lot of people, and it would help me as well too. If I really did try to not necessarily meditate, but maybe get to the meditation part of it. This is like a stepping point of it to like, okay, what do I want to do? What is my plan for this day? Spend, this amount of time on my plan, spend this amount of time on exercise, spend this amount of time on fixing myself up and making sure that I'm ready for to go on for my day. But it's because I wake up at I'll be up, but I will not get out of bed until 10 alarms go off.
Mm-hmm.
And that 10 alarm, I'm like, I have 10 minutes to get dressed and be out the door before I need to go. And if I'm 11 minutes late,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
But if I would have wake up an hour earlier or 30 minutes earlier and got up and like, okay, what is my plan for today? What do I have today? Kind of like take a deep breath and figure out what's my game plan for this day, the morning, and then when I go to bed, like, okay, and that will also close down the windows, like we're talking about, closing down these windows that you have in your brain that like all of a sudden I'm ready for bed at 9 o'clock, because that's usually my bedtime. Is 9 o'clock hits around, it's like, okay, time to take my medication, and it's bed.
Mm-hmm.
Bam, 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 and I don't care what the hell's going on. And I'm usually will be it. But if I can try to like maybe take an hour beforehand or 30 minutes beforehand and try to like, okay, I'm gonna take a deep breath. What was my day like today at the end of the day? What did I accomplish? What do I need to work on? What other things I have to do? And kind of just prepare yourself and do that every single day. And I'm like, wow, I think my life will be better. And like, I can actually think that by doing that, won't have this problem of crap. I have 5 minutes to get out this door, and if I'm not out this door, I'm lucky that I have my own business, so I can't be 5 minutes late. But where I don't like to be, but I can be. And sometimes that happens to me. Sometimes I'm like 30 minutes late because I'm like, crap, it's 8:20 and I really should be at the door by 8:30, but something happens in the middle of my whatever. The cat got out, or some dog is this, or something before my time, but I could have had all this time and space if I would have just planned my day either beforehand or after, and then both,
I agree wholeheartedly. You should fight, and I do hour.
Jesus.
I want to say 2, but I'm gonna be nice and start what we want.
Okay.
And
so you say 2 hours?
No, at the beginning of your day, at the end of your day.
Okay.
So I look at it this way. You should have the most control over your first hour, right? You control when you wake up.
Yeah.
And you have the most control over your last hour when you go to bed.
Yeah.
And if you do a good job of those 2 hours, probability-wise, you're probably going to have a really productive day. Not necessarily good or bad, but you'll probably be productive. And there's lots of reasons why. The first off is, let's start with the morning routines. And there's a book, I don't remember the name of the book, but it's a small orange book called Morning Routines by Successful People. I highly recommend it.
Okay.
I always think, and I'm a big student of the YouTube.
Yeah.
There's actually they have a lot of different actors and actresses that talk about their morning routines. What it does, you can do your meditation, your prayer, you can plan your day. One of the hidden benefits, every night I review the day. Just real quick, I just kind of review the touch points of the day. What did I really like about that day? What could I have done differently, and then what I want to do tomorrow. And in the morning, I kind of do the same thing. I do it now that it's almost this habit. Like I could be in an elevator ride and I can kind of just close my eyes and review. What it actually has done is really helped my memory. So when it comes to memory, I love talking about neurons. Neurons are fascinating. But they just light up when you so if I say the word pickle, all of a sudden that neuron in your brain, a pickle, pops, and all of a sudden you can think and smell and taste a pickle. Well, when you review your day, it gives you a chance to actually take highlights of the day and make sure to really think about what went well and what to improve on. And I really think that these hours are your hours of growth. If you have no other time to grow, these are the two. Now I'm going to say two. We're going to take the morning and afternoon. Yeah. You can start with 1 hour to start.
So 30 minutes before, 30 minutes. 30 minutes before, Brad, 30 minutes.
You can start with 30,
or
but then at the end, 1 hour.
You really need 1 hour.
I think you get better benefit over time. So I'll talk about the morning routine first.
Okay.
You can actually build whatever routine you want. So I think that's the beautiful thing is you could do it how you do it. Just have a plan to do it. I think I find it funny that most people still fall asleep like they are 3-year-olds that are trying to fight sleep, like they're gonna win.
Yes.
Yes,
me.
And
100%.
It's a really weird way to still, as adults, we're taking all these sleep aids, we're doing all this stuff, just to do something that is gonna happen naturally no matter what we do. So what I recommend in the morning, first of all, wake up in the morning. You can maybe, I'll speak for me. I rarely set alarms anymore. Only when I really have to, because I've gotten to the point where my body likes the fact of waking up because I'm excited about what's going to happen that day. So that's mindset, right? The second part of that is I might set, and I'm not an alarm guy, but I'm not going to set 3 alarms. Because what you're telling your brain is, I can shut off the first alarm 1, alarm 2. I may have 1 backup, but I want to train my brain that when the alarm goes off, I am getting up. That's brain training, right? So that's my first thought is don't set 10 alarms. I would just set 1, but if you want to be cautious, be safe, no more than 2.
Okay.
So now I'm consistently waking up, right? I'm consistently training my brain to wake up. And so when I wake up, I want to do about 15 minutes total, where it's meditation, prayer, or plan your day. You can kind of mix and match, but you kind of want to think, well, what are my goals for today? And the goals are important because at the end of the day, if you get those 2 things done, you're most likely going to be happy about your day. And I think a lot of people don't have a goal. So how can you be happy when you have no goal you're shooting for?
Yeah, for sure.
So I wake up, do my 15 minutes. I then want to get about up to 20 minutes of cardio, yoga, or working out. They all have their own purpose, but I want to stimulate. So the first 15 minutes I'm stimulating my brain. Then at that point, well actually, I'm really more stimulating my spirit, my first 15 minutes when I'm meditating. The next 20 minutes I'm stimulating my body, right? Let me get my body awake. I don't drink coffee. Coffee, if you need coffee and stuff, that's fine. But I got to the point where I trained my body to wake up and be ready to go at it. So I'm going to do a little bit of yoga. I can meditate there. I can do a little bit of hard cardio. I can do stretches. I just got to get my heart rate up. I got to get myself in my body. I got to feel myself. Then the next 25, so it's 15 minutes of the meditation and prayer, plan your day, 20 minutes of the cardio, working your body. Then that next 25 minutes is, the shower, brush your teeth, get ready for the routine. I like to play a little bit of music, right? I want to set my mood.
Okay.
I want the mood of, I'm going to destroy this day, not, oh my goodness.
I'm running late.
Yeah, I'm running late.
Yeah. That 25 minutes to me is like more like 5 minutes.
Yeah. But so what happens is your brain releases chemicals all the time. You want chemicals like dopamine and serotonin. Yeah. Those are your happy chemicals. Those are your positive chemicals that you feel like you're going to conquer the day. When you're rushing, you release a lot of cortisol. Cortisol is the frantic, oh my goodness, you know, that's that fear, that's a rush of cortisol. So essentially, you're dosing your brain with cortisol as you rush out for your day.
Yeah.
And just from a mathematical, neurological standpoint, that's really a crappy way to start your day.
Don't tell me that now.
Well, so, and then also, I want to make sure I'm not wasting time either. So I try to have my clothes out the day before. So in my nighttime ritual, I'll lay out my clothes the day before. I already know I'm going to eat for breakfast. So see how they kind of, they piggyback off each other. Yeah, right? Okay. So you plan your morning, you go through your day. At the end of the day, you review it. Man, this went well, this didn't go well. This is what I'm working with. Great, I accomplished 2 of those 3 goals. Awesome, I feel good. More dopamine and serotonin. Good, now I'm going to go to sleep and get ready for the next day. And then you start doing it, and then it's amazing. You start to get some major work done. And so my other soapbox that really I want people to focus on is, yes, we know statistically a lot of people don't like their jobs, right? Some jobs are mundane, some jobs are boring, and I get that. And some of them do kind of, you know, you get home and you're mentally tired. And I do understand that. And you know, I ran a company. I've grinded the 70-hour week. I understand it. But that still doesn't give, that's still no excuse to not grow as a human being. Meaning, if your job, and sometimes you gotta do a job, right? And I'm not saying, you know, do your job, but go home and, you know, go learn some Spanish. Because you want to learn some Spanish. Or go take, you know, salsa lessons. Or go learn Taekwondo. Or go learn about Feng Shui. It goes back to that open-mindedness. But what it does, it gets you, because that tired part of your brain doesn't mean your brain can't learn. It just needs to do something else. You know, maybe it needs to go run for an hour. Yeah. You know, maybe it needs...
An hour?
Hey, you can run for an hour.
Oh, I know. People can run marathons all the time, but still. Back to my 3 miles.
We can run an hour. So I think that's where, you know, so if your brain, if you feel mentally tired, go work out your body. Just, you know, just get out there, and when you go home, before you lay and hit the couch, I have a thing where, you know, I don't do it every time, so I'm gonna be honest, but as many times as possible, if I don't have 10,000 steps, I don't sit on my couch. My couch is not available to me, because I haven't got 10,000 steps that day. 10,000, you kind of honestly need around 12 to 15,000. Yeah. But when I get home and I'm mentally tired, and I look down, I only got 5,000 steps.
Oh no. Then,
but now, okay, well, what should we do? Let's go walk and get some food. Let's go to the park. Let's go. And I find that when my brain is tired and then I go work out my body, I've regulated myself. I feel a little better. I can think again. You know, there's nothing wrong with TV. You know, there's nothing wrong with things. But I want to do things that are productive. You know, and so when I go home, I give myself about 30 minutes to an hour of, I'll call it junk TV. Even that I've actually started to minimize next to nothing. But I always want to be learning something, because that's what gets my brain excited. And so I'll go home. I love, you know, like Joe Rogan podcast. I'll listen to, because I want to do presentations, so I've been listening to a lot of speakers, and then getting inspired by those speakers. I think those are the ways that you really start to set your day. So you get your mindfulness, you're being open-minded, and now you're planning a little bit in the beginning and end of your day. Now you have a plan that can help you as you move forward. Bad day, no problem. I have another day coming up. I have a great day. Awesome. How did I have that great day? Yeah. So I can have more of them.
Okay, so let's move on to sleep. We only have like 20 minutes left.
No, that's...
And so I feel like sleep is just so important, as well too. Mm-hmm. And so somebody who does work a 70-hour work week, how the hell is supposed to be getting a 7 to 9 hour?
It's, alright, so how many days, right now, how many days can you go without food before you actually die? How many days? food.
What is it? 3?
A lot more than that.
Oh, is it?
You can go 7 days, in some cases up to 14 days, depending on how much you weigh without actual food, because your body just starts to eat up the fat.
Well, I guess this is the. Oh, how do I have?
You didn't have this up.
Oh. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, you didn't have that one up.
Is that my microphone?
Yes, that's your color.
Oh, blue? I thought. Damn.
Yeah, blue.
I thought this was the blue one. Oops.
Either way, you should just try it.
Oops. Oh well. I guess next time. No wonder why. Oh well. But I want to talk about sleep.
Oh, the 70-hour work week. Yes. So.
Yes.
You can go almost 14 days without food. You die, and you start to decay a little bit. 3 days, water. I think barely 3 days. How long can you actually go without sleep? So think what happens. Think what is sleep? I always like to ask definitions. What is sleep?
I don't know. Sleep is when your brain decompresses.
So it has lots of functions. So think about it. A human can't not avoid sleep, right? After about 2 days, your body literally shuts down like a robot. It literally just falls over and has to fall asleep. So we know it's an important function. I mean, we spend almost a third of our lives, pretty much, almost a third of our lives doing this important function. Yeah. So what happens when you are sleeping is your brain gets a chance to do all the things it can't do while you're awake. It does a lot of work with cleaning out, because your cells, you have all these millions and billions of cells. Some of them are decayed, they need to be taken out. Your brain does all of that. Your brain does a lot of processes. It stores food. There's all these functions that take place when you are sleeping normally. And so I think if I really think of something that's plaguing us as humanity, is we've forgotten just how to sleep. Like, the natural sleep is the best way to, doesn't fix everything, but it fixes a lot of the issues that we have. A lot of it is we're so overstimulated that we're not going to sleep naturally. We have to. Human beings have been around for a long time before they had sleep aids.
Yes. Yeah.
They made it okay. And I would almost argue in some cases they were probably happier because they knew the natural way to fall asleep. Sleep aids are okay as a temporary measure, so I'm not advocating, I'm not, a doctor in that, from that standpoint. But my simple call to every human is you should be able to fall asleep in most cases naturally. If you're able to fall asleep naturally, you're going to put yourself in a good position.
What is naturally?
So I'll say naturally, meaning, whether it's a workout. And I'm still, if you want to take something that's, a light aid, a little bit of tea or something, a little ritual to fall asleep, I would define that as naturally. I guess what I'm against is taking hardcore, knock me out, pass out medication.
Okay, so like a sleeping
like Ambiens,
Ambien
and all those. Because your brain actually needs to go through different waves, and I think there's 4 types. This is not my specialty, so I'm not going to go into the 4 types. But your brain throughout the night actually goes through different cycles, almost like a washing machine. You really want to think about it. It goes through different cycles, and when you take these harder drugs, you miss cycles, or the cycles are severely impacted. And I think that's what disrupts people, a little bit too much. Now, if you have to get 8 hours no matter what to take every once in a while, but falling asleep naturally is a very, and it goes back to this, and it probably takes a little bit more than 2 weeks. But for all the people I've seen who've slowly gotten away from a lot of the SSRIs, a lot of the heavier drugs to fall asleep,
yeah,
you don't feel this abruptness. You kind of feel this natural awakening. It's a little easier to wake up in the morning, that type of thing, because these drugs are heavy, right? So you're kind of having to shock yourself back up to sleep. Shock yourself back up to wake up. So that's how I would define this as naturally. But some of the stats I have here, 70 million U.S. adults have a sleep disorder. 70 million. There's 350 million people. So pretty much 1 in 5 have a diagnosed sleep disorder. 48% of people report snoring. 38, so almost 40% of people report falling asleep during the day at least once. And sometimes that's behind the wheel of a vehicle.
Yeah. That's true.
So it's not only just, for you. I mean, sleep has affected, people, car wrecks, poor decision making at work.
Yes.
It puts here 5% of people report nodding off, falling asleep while driving at least once in a month. It's about insomnia. So I think in the final one of the things for the new year is you have to really think about your sleep. You have to really think. So if you're working 70 hours a day, you can work 70 hours a day. Are you getting enough
a week?
70 hours a week, yeah. 70 hours a week. No, that's a workaholic. And for the record, because you'll get this person, I only need 5 hours of sleep. I can run 5 hours of sleep. That is patently incorrect. The minimum hour for 90-something high percentile of humans is 7 hours every day. You actually do not necessarily catch up on sleep on weekends. So the people who sleep 5 hours a day and then sleep 10 hours a day, it's better than nothing, but it actually doesn't have the right benefit amounts than just having 7 hours each day. So you really should think about
that's
your
almost
sleep.
a shift that you have to make sure that you are in bed no later than whatever the clock you have to wake up at. But if it's 11 o'clock, then 8 o'clock is your morning time, and then you still have an hour to do your morning routine, so you're not going to be out of bed until so you plan on being work at 10 if you go to bed at 11.
Well, but then you make a decision on, do I watch another hour of Teen Mom, or do I get ready for bed? I think it's when people spend 2 hours down a rabbit hole, wasting time to go to sleep. That was 2 hours they could have improved themselves and done whatever they wanted to be. So I think that's what I want for people to improve on. It's the wasted time in the morning, and especially the wasted time in the evening. A lot of people are just kind of fiddling on their phone.
Yeah.
And not where I always think I'm getting ready. I'm either working, or I'm getting ready for bed, or I'm learning, or I'm eating. Like I try to keep it very simple, and that kind of puts me in the right spot.
We're at the 25 million adults have obscure sleep apnea.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a lot. That's a lot of people.
It's hard to.
So sleep is really important. We don't really think of sleep as important, but it really is. Everybody really thinks of food as important, water, of course.
Mm-hmm. But
sleep is just as important as food or water, and probably even be more important.
Yeah, it's more important. It's hard to say. Is it more important than nutrition? I would argue at least it's equal. I would argue that because the simple fact is, what happens when you don't get sleep? You make poor decisions.
Yeah. And
more importantly, you become kind of a crappy human. Going back to that lizard brain, right?
Yeah.
So when you lack of sleep, you're just lizard brain all day. Just I hate this. This sucks, because you don't have the proper rest. And I'm a big fan of protecting my brain. I eat foods that my brain, that respond better. I like to eat healthier things so I can use my brain when I need it. But if I'm eating poorly and I'm sleeping poorly, the most logical thought is I'm going to make poor decisions, right? The math doesn't work. Right? It's not like I can eat like crap, I can sleep like crap, I could be stressed out, and I'm going to be a great decision maker. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So if I want to be a good decision maker, I need to be, have a good mindset. I need to sleep well, and I need to have purpose. I need to have motivation when I go about doing things.
So you have 9 to 21%. That's a kind of a big gap. That's not like a little bit small gap. That's almost like 10 points of women who have obstructive sleep apnea. So, well, it's less in women than it is in men.
I think
why,
some of that
why
is...
why would you think that? Why would you think that that's less? I mean, why would women have less problems of sleeping than men do?
I think in that case, that's just about sleep apnea in general. If you think of sleep apnea, there are a lot of weight issues involved.
And so guys are usually heavier than women.
Well, I think in the areas that affect sleep apnea when it comes to snoring. So I think that maybe just a little bit more of a function, not necessarily. I think sleep affects men and women pretty much on par. The apnea is probably a little bit different. I like the sleep deprivation statistics. So in terms of 20 to 39-year-olds, 37% on short sleep duration, just meaning they're not getting enough sleep.
That means they're not getting the full 7 hours.
Yeah, and then we're talking to 7. Younger people, especially teenagers, need 8 to 10 because their body's literally growing. They need to sleep so their body can literally grow and do what it needs. So 40%, I mean, that's, we're getting to the point where if you have 10 human beings in front of you, 4 of them are sleep deprived.
I mean,
so it goes back to that.
I'm raising my hand.
So go back to the racist joke, right?
Yeah.
The person may just be sleep deprived and making a poor decision. And so that's where I look at when you break things down and strip away your tribe, strip away, we're a lot of neurons and chemicals that if we don't do things right, at the end of it, we're gonna kind of pay for it. So that was 20 to 39-year-olds at 37%. It's 40% for 40 to 59-year-olds. So essentially,
it's not that huge of a difference between, because 37 and 40 is not really that big of difference between the 20 and 39 and 40 and 59. Why would you think that? I mean, well, I would think kids or the younger people would. Well, I guess that is true. They do get shorter sleep, but I think it would be more of a bigger gap. Then, because once you're in your 40s and 50s, you're like, I need my sleep. I need my bedtime.
You still might have kids going to college, and you're trying to do something for them. You got grandkids. You still have a career because in your 40s, you're still working hard in your 40s. And nowadays, honestly, you're working hard to your late 50s, early 60s. So I mean, for me, I'm 42, and I'm
working
still,
hard.
I'm still on the grind. So when I see someone who's having a bad day, my first assumption is not, I'm going to put them in a box, they suck, they're not my political person. I look at them and say, hey, that person may be sleep deprived, they may, not be eating right, and maybe I can make a connection that can help turn them around. And I think that mentality of the open-mindedness, the mentality of humanizing all the people you come across will really make it, because we have an election coming up in 2020, and everyone will be quick to kind of get on sides. But I really think if we go across with this mindset, we can really, one person honestly can't change the world. You don't have the ability to change the world. But you can change your friend. You can change your family.
Yes.
You can change the people that you touch when you walk around.
Yeah.
And that's all you control. And that is what is expected of people. So if anything to take away from all the stuff that he talked about is you impact the people around you. And if you do your job, that will help move the needle. So to help the community, to raise more awareness about HIV, to raise more awareness about the struggles that people have, it just starts with connection. I love to use the analogies. The neurons, there's millions and billions of neurons in your brain, but there's also 7 billion human beings. And it just takes each neuron to connect with another neuron to make changes. And so to go out, go make a friend this week. Go try something new. Go try, food that you normally don't try. Go just have a conversation. Just say hi. You don't have to have an agenda. Just smile at people. The simplicity of a smile can change someone's day. Someone may be having such a bad day. Yeah. But I know a smile has changed my day.
Yes.
For sure.
And if we do that, you know, we can have a good 2020. I'm excited about 2020. It's gonna be a good year for us.
I hope so. All right. So closing out for the new year.
Mm-hmm.
Quick steps that we have like 5 minutes left.
Sure.
So quick steps that people should take away from this. Somebody who's trying to meditate, somebody who's trying to get sleep, somebody who's trying to be open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
How do you compartmentalize, or how do you put it all together in a small, tight box, wrap it, and give it to them as a Christmas present?
Well, it starts with everyone has a calendar, everyone has a phone. Put it in your phone. I schedule it. So I put on my schedule. Okay. So it goes back to, I make sure my calendar is clean, it's not junky.
Yeah. Okay. And
I schedule it. Meditate, and I do it 2 weeks, right? So then your brain knows, okay, it's not infinite, I'm going to try it for 2 weeks. And I'll evaluate. So I put the meditation in there. I'll put a little bit at the end of the day. I won't make too many of them, but I'll just make about 2 or 3 of them. And then that way, when I wake up, I don't think about it. You want to make it where you don't want to wake up choosing if you want to be healthy. You just want to wake up and make it good and just get on it.
Yeah.
So start that way. And if not, write it down. Put it on your fridge. Or the first thing you do when you wake up. You know, do those simple things. You know, I always think visual. Visual schedules are very helpful. And that way you get off to a good start. And then you can evaluate. So visual schedule, give it about 2 weeks. And then see how you're feeling.
If you don't fall asleep after 20 minutes, get out of bed. I know we talked about this the last time.
Yes.
Really?
So pretty much, when you're in bed, there's only 2 things you should be doing in bed. Right?
Okay.
And the other one is sleeping.
Okay.
And that's it. If you're not doing those 2 things, you're wasting time.
Okay.
So I always think, go back and do some work. Go work out your body. At that point, I don't like to listen to TV. That's where reading books. Reading books.
Oh my God. Yeah, that'll put you to sleep in a minute.
So reading books, good audio podcasts, things that you're learning, those are good ways to do it. But yeah, don't lay in bed.
So turn off electronic devices 30 minutes beforehand.
Yes. Turn off your electronic devices.
What if I'm addicted to it? Like I want to sleep with something in the background.
I think I have a brain that likes to have stuff in the background. Ultimately, I don't do it when I sleep because it just you're distracting yourself. So what happens is all of a sudden a noise will pop up. Yeah. You will pop out of your REM sleep. Yeah. And so you're just doing it. You're kind of doing it to yourself. So I think just slow the volume over time till it gets to a point where you don't need it. So you don't have to always go cold turkey, but just try to wean yourself from it, and you'll realize you don't really need it. Now, I like to have ambient noise. So actually, that's not true. I have a little fan that is just on. That's just ambient noise that doesn't bother me. That you can do, because in that way, that doesn't disrupt your sleep patterns. And there's many apps that can help people that struggle with falling asleep.
Avoiding consuming alcohol before bedtime. I think that's a hard one for everybody because when we go out, we're gonna have a drink or two, and then when we come home, we're gonna go to bed. So, suggestions?
Well, know your purpose.
Yeah.
What's your purpose? If your purpose is you want to lose a lot of weight, then it's going to affect. You're going to make decisions that reinforce that purpose. I love to party. Don't get me wrong, but have a purpose. And I think if you have a strong purpose, it's easier to say no to some of those type of things.
Michael, thank you so much for coming back on my show, and I'm so excited because breaking news, guys. Michael is gonna come on my show. He's gonna be out here on the third Monday of the third Monday of every month. We're just gonna revisit these topics. I think this 1-time, 2-time show is just not enough to cover in the 6-month period, I think I had you. We were like one of my first or second guests that you were on my show when I first started, and these are such good mental health for your brain. Like when we talk about sleep, when we talk about eating healthy, when we talk about meditation, these are things that we have to do for ourselves. Like these are being selfish that you have to take control of. You have so many things going on in your day, but making sure that you have 1 hour a day, 2 hours, you spend 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening, before you go to bed, and just focus on yourself. And that is like, to a lot of people, that's hard. It's hard for me to think about me. I want to think about you, I want to think about you, I want to think about everybody but me. I want to go to bed, I want to sleep, and then I'm bitchy, or I'm frustrated when I don't get the right sleep. Well, maybe if I can stop listening to TV at the night, maybe if I can stop, do self-help practices that makes me better, I will have a better life. I will have, I do try to have a positive outlook, but it's just not having this positive outlook in life. You also do have to maintain a healthy lifestyle. You have to have exercise. It's your diet. It's your mentality. It's your having your little say. Making sure that that you have it's your me time, and I think that's so important. So guys, we're super excited to have Michael coming back on our show regularly to talk to us about this information, because we all need help in maintaining ourselves. So Michael, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you? I know you're a life coach, and this is just not a one-time thing. We talk about some solutions, but having this is just not a one-fits-all remedy, right? And so how can someone get a hold of you? Sure, they want more information, or sure they want more coaching from you.
Sure, absolutely. And I think when I come back next time, I'll be updating some of my social media things to come in conjunction to make it easier. The easiest way to get a hold of me is through email. It's my first name, Michael dot, then my last name, C as in cat, O as in octopus, N as in Nancy, T as in Tom, E as in Edward, H as in Harry, B as in boy, C as in cat, B as in boy, A as in apple, at gmail.com. So it's michael.conteh, BCBA, at gmail.com. I could be reached via phone at 832-594-0413. Over time, I'll make announcements when the book is closer to be done. I'll start taking clients. So if people are interested, I'm starting a waiting list. I'll start probably sometime in February and start to do some of those processes for individual or group. But, I think shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to answer just simple questions. Just kind of help reach. I love what you guys doing. I love this city and community, and I'm always here to help.
Thank you so much. Guys, friends, thank you so much for listening to us. Our listeners are a great impact to us. If you are just tuning in, you have missed a great show, but if you're not, this show will be on YouTube at POZ Impact. That's POZ Impact. And you can search it on YouTube. And stay tuned for Malcolm Elisa After Dark. And so, TJ, do you mind taking us to commercial break? And that's all for us. We'll see you guys in the next year.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks
POZ
to our
Impact,
listeners.
Houston's first radio show dedicated to people living with HIV, their friends and family, every Monday from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Real Talk 100 Radio. You can also find us on all social media under POZ Impact. That's POZ Impact. And if you happen to miss our show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can catch the latest episodes of POZ Impact.
We are a team of millionaires that are looking for 9 POZ Radio listeners to take to $10,000. You must be a POZ Radio listener and highly coachable. If you are hungry to change your life and work with people who care about your success and changing the world, email your name, number, and email address to pauseradio@theatsjr.com.
Appreciate the opportunity. I like the new
Again,
place.
that's pauseradio@theatsjr.com.
The next place is going to have